Good morning, lovely friends. How are you all doing today? Are you grand? Are you well? I hope so. It's a little bit chilly this morning, but the sun's out. It's gorgeous, so I just had to race down to the garden to have some fun. So we're a couple of days post a bit of a storm we had at the weekend. I think, I'm just fishing for my water, I think the last time you saw me, which video was it? I think it was the video where I was going out to my local park to show you my adopted. Oh, so I just got distracted then because a big bee just kind of shed and then flew out. Sorry, distracted already. Yeah, so on that day when I was showing you my adopted pear tree and the dark clouds were gathering, well, the next day was when the storm came. It was predicted. We were due quite a lot of rain and some high winds. So my first job of today, as soon as I got here, was to just check that everything's where it should be. Which it is, nothing's blown away. Yay! There's quite a few sort of twiggy branches down from the trees in the park that I walked through to get here. But otherwise it looks like we've got away very, very lightly. So any of the rest of you in the rest of the country, I hope to goodness you weren't hit too badly by the storm, and I hope you haven't had any damage. It's actually lovely coming here today because after all that rain, there's that gorgeous smell to the ground. Ooh, yeah. So, I've got a few little odds and sods of jobs to do today. It's funny, whenever I'm editing a video, especially if I'm editing the monthly tour, as I'm editing it, I look and I think, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, what have you. So, I'm just looking at my note of what I want to do today. Yes, so apart from a chunk of harvesting, I'm going to check on the grapevine today, and I'm going to check on that with you all because someone mentioned it the other day, and I have kind of caught it out with the corner of my eye when I've been looking at the Taunton Dean perennial kale and when I've been mucking around with all the leaves, but I haven't had a proper, really good look, so we'll go and see how that's doing today. But the other thing I'm going to do today, now I don't know whether this is genius or madness, you decide. You know, I've got those two really big flower pots. I don't know if are they called flower pots when they're so big, but they must be 60 centimetres deep, that I'm going to have on the end of the deck to hopefully as a bit more planting space for maybe one of the birdhouse gourds or a loofah or one of the chopchas, something like that. But that's a lot of flower pot to fill with compost. If I had to buy compost for that, that's going to make it prohibitively expensive. So the other day I was thinking about the fact that I need to find a load of stones to put in the bottom to help with drainage. Now the thing is, because I'm not digging the beds, I'm not digging out stones, I've got no stones. And bear with me, all these thoughts will collide into one thought in a moment. The other thing is, whenever I come to the garden, there's a couple of my mini beds in particular where after I'd covered them in leaves and compost and what have you and put the cardboard on top, to hold the cardboard down, I put a load of my big long branches that I use for making my teepees with. And every time I come here I think, oh look, it's like a little Hugelkultur getting ready to be made. So I just had this thought, and look, it might be stupid, I don't know. I don't see why it would be stupid. But what I think I'm going to do with those two big flower pots, yes, we're back to that original thought now. I do always come back. I'm basically thinking to make them like a pair of little miniature Hugelkulturs. In other words, start off with big rough material in the bottom and then gradually get a bit finer and come up, a bit of soil, and then eventually at the top a bit of compost, not too much compost because I can't afford it. So I thought, why wouldn't that work? And so I'll show you as I'm doing it. It's a way to use up some of my rubbish material that I've got lying around. Like I say, I've no idea if it'll work, but I've nothing to lose by giving it a go. And isn't that the wonderful thing about having our gardens, is it's just a wonderful place to have fun trying things. You know, I'm always advocating experimenting. Always advocating, just have a go, you know. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work? Now, obviously, these days I am relying on the plot for my food massively. So I'm not going to experiment in my full 100 square metres of growing space. Of course not. That'll be a bit too risky. But if, like me, you've got a little corner that it doesn't matter whether it's a success or failure, have a go with something. Have an experiment this year with something. I'm dying to hear what you're all experimenting with. Anyway, yay, we've got a blue sky, we've got sunshine. It's quite early in the morning, which is why I've got so many layers on, because it's a little bit chilly to start the day, but I'm sure that within a few minutes the layers are going to be coming off and it's going to be a gorgeous morning to be out in the garden. After I've done some cat cuddling, I've got cats. Even here. Right, I'm going to do some cuddling and then let's get out into the garden. You might need your wellies today because it's been raining quite a bit. Just before I get stuck into this mini Hugelkultur idea, I just wanted to bring you over to my friend Sheena's plot to show you her absolutely gorgeous almond tree. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful sight against this blue sky this morning? Oh, achingly gorgeous. Doesn't that give you hope for a year? I'm just going to see if I can get closer without going flying, because it really is magnificent against this blue sky today. Oh, shall we pretend we're in Japan for a moment? Beautiful, beautiful, delicate little blossoms. Ah, and there's a bee at work somewhere. Can you hear it? I can see it. Let's see if I can get a shot of this bee for you. Oh, I've disturbed her. Off she goes somewhere, and there's another one arriving. Gorgeous. Well, I shall leave the bees in peace to do their work. How lovely to see the bees out and about doing their work in that blossom. Gorgeous. It's a good and timely reminder though that it is still really quite early for the bees and there's not much food around for them. So if and wherever you can, let things blossom, whether it's your fruit trees or like me with my rosemary bush. But more importantly, if you've got some of your brassicas which are starting to blow and go to flower, if you're not in a desperate hurry for that space, please leave them to flower, because the bees will really appreciate it. Yay! Oh, such a happy sight. Right, now to this mini Hugelkultur. Let me show you what I've got to use. Coming down and around. So I've got a bunch of old brassica stalks. I've got a load of twiggy bits that I pulled out of the leaves when I was trimming. Obviously when I've raked leaves up, I've raked the twiggy bits up too. And I've also got this now very dead, this is the old stalks from the flint corn from last year, and obviously that's the soil spoil from when I dug out the, the path in the herb bed. So what I'm thinking, I haven't done a lot of research on Hugelkultur because it's not something I've ever done, but from what I've or what I can remember is I'll put the slowest rotting stuff in the bottom, so that should be the sort of twiggy bits, followed by the brassica stalks. I'm going to chop them up a bit to fit them in, and then I'm going to chop up some of this old flintcorn stalks to go on top of that. And then what I might do in terms of depth of the pot is about that much material and then about that much soil, and then so thirds really, a third compost, third soil, and a third of all this material. But with the soil, my soil is really, it is pretty wet and claggy, and oh, it does, I don't know if you can make out from here, I know it looks, quite often my soil looks nice on camera, but trust me, it's very, very heavy. So what I'm thinking is, with the soil, is chop a load of this up quite fine and mix it in with the soil as well, just to stop that soil sticking together quite so badly. Right, let's put it together, see how it goes. Then let's start with the twiggy bits. It's going to be a bit noisy and clanky, I reckon. I'm going to snap some of them shorter. Also, I've just I've put the whole pot on a couple of bits of 2x4 underneath, just to lift it off the deck. So that should help drainage too. Is that enough sticks, do we think? Oh, a couple more. Okay, now the lumps of brassica stuff. I don't know, this might be a form of madness, but on the other hand, maybe it'll turn into something that actually works out all right. Right, well, I'm going to carry on doing this for another layer. It may take me a little while, so I'll bring you back in a moment. Right, that's a bucket of, well, not a bucket, but good chunk of flintcorn chopped up to mix some soil in with. Hopefully, like I say, it will stop the soil being too heavy and sticky. Just pop that there a second. Sure. Oh, that might be these St John's wort roots. Let's not add that. Otherwise I'll have St John's wort everywhere. It's like a big old cake. So I'll add some more, but just so you can see, this is what I'm doing. I'm just mixing all this chopped up stuff in with the soil, just to hopefully stop it from getting waterlogged and compacting and what have you, to form the next layer. And then the top layer will be some bought compost, because I don't have any compost of my own. Right, let's chop that in as well. So that's now twigs, brassicas, some chopped up flint corn and their old roots, and soil with chopped up flint corn added, and then the rest will be compost. Actually, I think I could come up, settle it down a bit, I think I could come up another couple of inches with soil and flint corn. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do, another maybe a couple of inches and then 6 inches of compost to finish it with. Yeah, good. That one, and then do the next one. Well, that's as full as they're going to get today. I should just say, I think these pots are absolutely hideously ugly. So I'm going to have a load of other pots in front as we get into spring and summer. Yeah, they're ugly, but you know what? They were being thrown away, and that's a bit of growing space. Can't let that go, eh? The other thing to mention, if you're going to do something similar, not with whatever you fill it with, but if you've got big pots like this, before you fill them, put them where you would like them to be, because once they're full, boy oh boy are they heavy. But yes, I'm hoping that as we get into the summer, a load more pots in front, a load of the geraniums that I'm overwintering at home, for example, bits and bobs of it's the tail end of that storm. Yeah, I'm just hopefully by the summer they'll have stuff tumbling over and it'll disguise that ugliness. But another bit of growing space, yay! Well, while I'm in this corner, I'm just going to have a little look at the grapevine. Oh, let's just get that out of the way. So, I can't see any new shoots on it at first glance, but it all feels really solid still. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, just a rotten lump of wood. And it feels pretty firmly anchored there, like it's got some roots. So, I think for the moment the jury is out as to whether it's, is it doing anything? Let me see if I can give you a slightly closer look. Yes, as you can see, there's nothing really to see. Yes, who knows? Well, look, it's not in the way there, not by any means, so I'm in no hurry to be yanking it out, assuming it's dead. So I'll just leave it and see if something happens over the course of the spring. And if not, well, eventually it can come out, and I'm sure at some point in the future someone else will offer me a grapevine cutting, but if not, never mind. This area is not going to be lacking for things to grow in it. And obviously the kale is going to hopefully get really, really massive. Right, fingers crossed on the grapevine, but not too sure, and either way, you know, it's fine. It's not something that I'm desperate to have. It was just a nice idea and a nice gift from a friend. If it doesn't take, it doesn't take. I shan't lose any sleep over it. Another job for today is to get the covers off my broad beans, because they're starting to flower, so I need the bees to get in them. And it's sod's law that when I'm going to do anything with a net or a fleece or such like, the wind picks up. I could have done this a couple of days ago, but I left it on over the weekend because we were expecting that, I think it was called Storm Freya, and with it some really, really high winds, so I left it on just as a little bit of protection for these little fledgling plants. Now, it's time for them to feel a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of air on their leaves. Oh, Poppy, get off no sign of the ones I sowed, when was it? 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. Absolutely. Never mind. I think what is there will be enough. Breathe, little beans, breathe. It's always lovely when nets come off something. This is so windy. I'm wondering if this was a bit of a mistake today. Do you know what? I'll see how it goes for the rest of the morning. I'll check the weather forecast again, but it is a bit windy, isn't it? We'll see. Time for the last of the parsnips to come out. They're going to be tiddlers if they're going to be anything at all. They're starting to sprout again, so yeah, there's hardly going to be anything on them. But I'm thinking of trying something out. They're such tiddlers. Keeping them whole and combining them with cabbage to make a soup. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, fingers crossed this year is better. My goodness. But I'm grabbing even the teeniest, tiniest, they're like thinnings, because they'll still give some flavour, if not any bulk. Oh, good grief. They are a disappointment. There's no two ways about it, disappointment. But let's be grateful for everything that did work well last year. I am feasting on winter squash every week. It's marvellous. Pounds and pounds and pounds of bottled tomatoes. Brilliant. So, yeah. I'm grateful for what I do have. Parsnip tops, anyone? Oh, they're all fur coat and no knickers, this lot. The cabbage is half decent for a scarf. So I'll have that away, and now to go and get some chard. How to choose between red and yellow when they're all so gorgeous. Basically, have a little bit of everything. Nearly done now, but yeah, it's been a great little cut and come again patch this all winter. Wow, all people are saying to it, look at the colours, gorgeous. This is going to go into a sort of a bean type stew, a Greek type dish that is like a stew, but then it gets a baking in the oven. Can't wait. Look at, the colour's shocking, isn't it? So that's a nice little addition. Isn't that a happy sight? Actually, when I'm harvesting and I look and I see a leaf like that, That leaf is so sad and tired. That's not going to do my body any good, is it? So that can just become compost. Let's have a nice bright shiny one in its place. It's like, you know, if you've got veg in the bottom of the fridge that's all wilted, you wouldn't want to feed yourself with that, would you? So pick your nicest leaves. Yay! Ooh, time to go home and cook soon. What a funny morning with the weather. Doesn't know what it wants to do. One minute it's bright sunshine, and the next minute there's clouds scudding by and the wind. The wind has calmed down now, so I'm going to risk leaving the covers off the broad beans because they're flowering. I will check the forecast when I get home now, because if it looks like we're going to have some high winds again over the next week. I don't know if it's the tail end of Storm Freya, I'm not sure, but what I might do if it is looking windy is, rather than cover them completely, because I do want the bees to get in there, is to just, on my grass path side, maybe just put up some sort of windbreak, because they do look so little and vulnerable at the moment. Anyway, I'm leaving them uncovered today. So, a couple more things to say before I scoot off. I don't know if you remember when I got my spuds out, I had this one that came out, like a double spud. So I put it out to chip with all the others, and what I'm going to do, I don't know if you can see, right in the middle, here, there's a chit. So what I might do now is sort of cut a slice here and have this one as one spud and this, where the other chit, double my spuds. I mean, it's silly to put that in like that, isn't it? If I do that now, if I cut them, those cut surfaces will have time to dry out and sort of heal over before I put them in the ground. So I'm not putting them in just cut right now, they'll rot. So I'll do that in a second before I go. The other thing is another seed thank you. Oh my goodness. So a thank you to Lisa. Lovely little card as well. Thank you so much. And there's some flowers in there too. And then the other one is a thank you to Cara, who's in America, and I think she must have ordered this online and it was sent direct to me, but I'm so excited. It's 2 packets, aren't they gorgeous little packets, of Reuben's red lettuce. So the packet says organic seed from Shoulder to Shoulder Farm. I love that, shoulder to shoulder. So thank you ever so much, Cara. I've now been sent, I think, about, I've lost count of the number of packets of Reuben's Red I've now been sent. I think I own the world's stock of Reuben's Red lettuce seed. I'm really, really grateful, thank you. I probably won't sow it all this year. I don't have the space. But what's great is, you know, they'll keep. So not only will I have Reuben's Red this year, I'll have some for next year as well. So, you know, to everybody, absolutely everybody who has sent me seeds, I've got part of my list here. So there's those 2 today. There was the 2 J's last week, Joanne and Joe. I've had seed from Sheila, from Charlene, from Stephanie, from Nancy, from Renee, from Marie, from Michelle, from Neil and Nathan, that's at Grandad's allotment, of course from the lovely Richard and Paul at Richard and Paul's site, and more. I'm really sorry if I haven't said your name in that list, but take it from me, I am truly, truly grateful. So thank you everybody for the gorgeous seeds. And thank you everybody just in general for continuing to watch whatever videos I'm putting out and supporting and leaving your wonderful comments and just in generally feeding back to me. It's a lovely, I feel that this is a two-way street for definite. So thank you for not even the subscription part of things, because people subscribe and don't watch. Thank you for watching the videos and for commenting. It's great. And thank you for my seeds and thank you for everything. So I think it's going to be time for me to go home and start cooking, because that's the thing. Whenever I do any harvesting, I know that the rest of my day is going to be spent in the kitchen. What fun. Truthfully, the parsnips, there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. They might go in for a bit of stock flavouring, but in terms of actual veggies, better luck this year, I hope. So yes, that's my day sorted. A quick session in the garden, now a session in the kitchen, and then back to the sewing machine. So I will say for now, cheerio to all of you lovely, magnificent people out there. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, have fun. Just go out there and have some fun, or stay indoors and have some fun. Wherever you have your fun, have it. Take care, everyone.